Very good evening to you all. How are you?
Hello everyone, namaste to all.
Namaste, namaste. Welcome, Arjun.
Welcome.
Nice to hear your voice again. Nice to hear you, Arjun.
Nice to hear you also all.
So we have a number of participants already present with us. Most of them faculties. Dr. Vaishali has already raised her hand. Number of students.
This one.
Parikshit sir, can you make me the co-host so that I can pass on the mics?
Yes, Bhaiya. Dr. Vaishali.
Nisha ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening. Dr.
Good evening.
Vaishali.
Good evening.
Oh yes, welcome Arjun. Of course, a very warm welcome to, of course, all the participants who are with us, and of course, Arjun Asthana is with us to take up the queries and to introduce one more proposal to all of us. And Pavnendra Bhaiya is also here. Sharad Bhaiya is there. Dilip Bhaiya, very warm welcome to you as well. And Parikshit Bhaiya, of course, has been.
Yes. Good evening to all.
Good evening, Dilip Bhaiya.
Good evening to all.
Dr. Vaishali has
Namaste.
Yes,
unmuted
Dr.
himself
Vaishali.
and we'd like to hear. Dr. Vaishali, good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir. Good evening.
Very good evening.
Yes, Dr. Vaishali, would you like to share something?
Yeah,
Please go ahead.
after attending UHV sessions, number of UHV sessions I have attended, now I can control myself. Means my anger I can control. I can understand if in such situation, if I behave like this, then what is going to happen. So this is for positive, what you can say, change in me, that I can control myself in some situations.
From here.
That is absolutely lovely, ma'am. That is absolutely lovely. Because that is the position when you can say when your reaction has been converted into the responses.
Yeah, responses. Yes, yes.
Very great. Nice, ma'am. Nice.
And
anything else that you would like to reflect on the proposals, ma'am?
Understanding is very important in a relationship. That is very true. And I'm feeling also, and I'm expressing that all these things in my family also. So it's very nice to attend all UHV sessions. And I'm not that much, means आप लोग जैसे express करते हैं और response देते हैं. So I cannot able to do that, but I will definitely try to do for my student and for my colleagues also. But I am finding some little bit difficulty in some reactions. If somebody asks some questions, so how to respond? So that's why I'm listening all these sessions very carefully.
Nice, ma'am. In fact, we all are co-explorers in the same process.
Yeah.
proposals we
Thank
keep
you,
on
everyone.
verifying on our own.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Very nice, Dr. Vaishali.
Thank you,
Certainly,
madam.
Definitely, we all are, trying to understand and trying to self-explore a number of proposals. And
First, we should
definitely,
explore ourselves only, and then only we can try to explain others how to explore in them also.
Very true,
very
very
right,
true.
very right, very right. In fact, Dr. Anupam Dey, so I had seen your hand risen a while ago. So you have the mic in case you would like to share something. Otherwise, we can begin our session. What do you say, Namir Bhaiya?
Yeah, Dr. Anupam, if we
In
are
fact,
audible to
Miss Nasreen. Yes, Nasreen ma'am. Okay, Miss Nasreen Ahmed.
the Anupam has unmuted himself.
Yes,
Dr. Anupam,
yes.
good evening.
Please go ahead, Dr. Anupam. Bhaiya, probably, maybe there's some technical issue. We're not able to hear Dr. Anupam. Then maybe Miss Nasreen.
Nasreen, can you hear us? You have the mic. We are very eager to hear you.
Well, maybe another technical issue. So otherwise, Namir Bhaiya, I think we'll take this opportunity to, of course, extend a very warm welcome once again to this
Yeah.
meeting. Of course, the follow-up of eSIP, of course, it has been conducted over all these weeks. And already Arjun Asthana is with us to introduce each one of us to one more proposal and have a good discussion, fulfilling discussion on the same. So I think I'll welcome Arjun Asthana, and I'll, what do you say, Navir Bhaiya? I think I'll request him to.
Yeah.
conduct the
We are
session.
all eager to hear you, Arjun. Welcome, Arjun.
Welcome, ma'am. Thank you to all, and we will start now. So
Yes, please.
today we thought of doing what we started with in the initial sessions, so that we can see, because some time has passed, right? So what we've reflected over this time, and about the basic aspirations and their fulfillment. So we'll discuss that in light of what was discussed earlier, and also like in this gap of around 1 month, what we've explored in this, we'll also discuss. So that might be interesting, because we'll try to see how far we've gone from understanding it in terms of theory, and how far we've gone to implement some of these things, and reflect on some of these proposals. So this is what we had in the very initial sessions that were done, and we can just like before we start, we can just discuss. We can ask a few people if they have anything to say about when they had first seen this slide. This was like around a month ago, which was like in the first or second session it might have been. So we can just see what people have explored so far in this, and then we'll go ahead. So if anyone wants to share, that'll be nice.
Yeah, they can just raise their hands and we can pass on the mics. We have around number of faculties also, and the family members who would just like to reflect on what they have explored as per the proposals. And we'd love to discuss it and explore together.
Specifically, we can explore these things about our aspiration and our state of being, and reflect on where we were last month and what has changed. If anything has changed, what has changed? We can
Yeah,
think about
Vasanti
that.
Vasireddy ma'am. Vasanti ma'am, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening. Welcome, ma'am. Nice to
I'm
hear you back.
Okay, sir. Here, an exploration, the reverse is happening to me, sir, these days, because expectations were more from others. In the beginning, no, when I used to tell everyone that I think these are the sessions I've been attending and it's very good, people used to listen to me. And then they also enjoyed a lot. But nowadays, from my children, no, they were you make us listen to all these and you shout at me. They were pointing me out. So it's like an additional qualification where I need to be more responsible. It's a threat for me, sir. What can I do? Expressing my own ideas. So I think do I need to enhance other skills, otherwise a right understanding, or else I previously they used to actually believe in me that I'm a supporting member. But I think after going through all this, all this, still you behave like this. This is the comment recently I got. So thank you. How I have to.
That's nice actually. Thank you for sharing. So in this context, mostly there are two things. One is that like as you said, the right understanding. The proposals, if you're sharing, then if they're thinking that you're sharing with the idea that you already know this and you're trying to tell them something, then they're not really focusing on what you're telling them. Rather, they're focusing on how you are. Like they're mostly mimicking your behavior and all more than trying to get what you're saying. Because when we say something, we can say anything, but our behavior shows what our thoughts are translating into. So, so we can clearly see that we are all in the same state where we've not really reached the completion point, which is called excellence. We are all working towards that, but then we are quite far from that. So when we share also, we share as something that we are also exploring. So if we always remind them that this was something which I heard and this is something which I'm also exploring, then they'll feel like you're not saying it from the point of view that you know something and you're trying to preach it. You're saying it from the point of view that you heard something and you're trying to share it with them and just to explore it together, kind of.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And second is that anyhow, whatever we say or we tell anyone, mostly after, after we say the thing, they're not really focused so much on what we're saying. Mostly they're focused on the feeling and the kind of
Maybe my
behavior
intention
and
of saying.
no, like intention also they may not be able to see actually, because in our behavior sometimes our intention doesn't come through. So even though the intention is a very positive intention to try to share this content with them, even then from their point of view they're seeing and they're able to see that the competence is less, so then they're not able to distinguish between the competence and intention. So they may feel that you're talking some very hi-fi thing, but then you yourself are not like that, so how can you say all this? So this might be the thought that they're getting.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So to clarify, the only two things are that one is to work on our own right understanding so that it comes across very naturally in our expression and behavior and all. And second is to always remind them that if you're trying to share something, that try to say that you're also exploring this at the same time, and you've not reached the point where that ideal state.
Yeah, that's what I understood, sir. I thought I was very active knowing all these things, but they made me understand that I'm still in the first class level.
We all are in some, it doesn't matter, because if somebody is one step ahead or one step behind, it doesn't really matter, because we can always help each other. If somebody is behind, we can help them to come to our level. And if we are behind, we can take help from someone else to go to the next level. So we are all somewhere or the other in the same journey.
Yes, sir. One more observation, sir. Maybe in our cousins' children or others, I think are of same age, teenagers, sir. generally when we discuss, no, they are very good at analyzing and all. Academically, they are very good at, but they don't take care of their maybe themselves. I mean to say that maybe food or other things. If we suggest them, they feel that we are elders and you are unnecessarily making us feel that we are children. And suppose if we don't tell them anything, even then they blame, their parents that you are not taking care of us. So, this kind of mentality, I don't understand. I express this because a few students also are attending. No, that's why they may also behave like that with their parents. So it's a dilemma where how shall we treat these teenagers, whether matured, because they have good analytical skills, whereas they expect all these what can I say, maybe like pampering always. So how can we deal with such kind of mentality, sir?
It's not like, see, everyone has a different preconditioning. So and everyone may not behave also the same way. Like, we can't really generalize and say that all the teenagers are like
No,
this.
all the teenagers are
But
not like that. A few.
yeah, a few, and it could be based on their understanding at the current time. Like, their understanding, if it is based mostly on preconditioning, then it will always fluctuate because preconditioning may keep changing with time. So if it is not coming from the right understanding, then it will keep varying, and with that variation, there will be fluctuations in what they're able to understand. Because,
So we should be alert, like electricity fluctuations.
but it's not a bad thing because the same is true for adults also. It's just that their preconditionings are different,
Okay.
and it's like there are some preconditionings that adults have which the teenagers don't have, and some which the teenagers may have which adults don't have. So it's just a matter of different preconditioning. So we can't really um, kind of discriminate based on the preconditioning. Rather, we can see that whatever we are doing, if we can always try to assure the other person that it is in their interest, and also assure the other person that you're competent to share that thing with them, then it will happen.
Yes.
So the first thing is to share that we are working for each other's happiness. So once that is assured within the other person, then they are more open and more receptive also.
I
And the
always
second is,
remember, yes,
yeah,
sir.
and the
Kumar
second
Sambhav
thing,
sir says that proposal only proposal. Don't tell them anything to do. Yeah, don't impose.
right, that is of course very important, because when you impose, then it is more like making another preconditioning.
Yes, sir.
Because
Yes, sir.
because without exploring, then it becomes like just another assumption or belief, which
That's the major learning point for me, sir. Proposal. I think simple word to say, but I think it has an impact on me, sir. Making proposals, not telling anyone to do that. Yeah.
right.
Thank you
Okay,
very
so
much.
now we'll go ahead.
Okay.
If
We
any
have a
other
student.
questions, you can,
Yeah,
or
Brajesh.
comments on.
We have a student, Brajesh Kumar, who wants to speak something. Brajesh, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Brajesh.
Yes, sir.
You wanted to say something?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Brajesh,
good
we can
evening.
hear you. He's got disconnected probably. We have Professor Jyoti Ranjan. Professor Jyoti Ranjan Mohanty.
Okay, if If not, we can discuss a little more. Yeah.
Avinash has unmuted himself, a student. Avinash, you want to speak something? Avinash, good evening. Avinash, can you hear us? Avinash Singh? Probably some issues with the network or whatever. Arjun, we can move ahead, I suppose, with the proposals
Yeah.
that you have.
Yeah. So we can see that we all have the same aspiration to be happy and prosperous. And we can also see that in our present state of being, we have this fluctuation between being happy and not so happy. And this feeling of prosperity also, it keeps coming and going. So the continuity is not being maintained because of the lack of right understanding and putting things in the right perspective. So we can also see that, like, in terms of our efforts, we are making a lot of effort for accumulation of more wealth so that we can have more physical facilities. But then, even then, that doesn't lead to the feeling of prosperity either. So even though you may have more wealth, you may still feel not prosperous, and with that, you might still feel that the wealth is not enough because you need some other things, some more things, but you don't have enough money for that. So these kind of feelings come only because we are not very sure about what prosperity really means and what happiness really means. And sometimes we assume that when we have more wealth, then that will make us happy and prosperous. So that's why we have, like, this continuous effort being made on accumulation of wealth, because we assume that the prosperity and happiness both will fall into place once we have more wealth. And that is a very strong assumption which is there in a lot of us. And because of that, we are focused on this only this one aspect, and we're not really seeing the bigger picture. So the question is that what are we doing for the other things? Like, for here we have right understanding, relationship, and physical facility. So what efforts are we making for the other two? We are clearly making effort for physical facility, but what concrete efforts are we making for relationship and for right understanding? And, like, if we see in our 24-hour day, then how much effort, how much time, and how much effort are we spending on these two? That will really, make it very clear what our focus is on right now. And without right understanding, the relationship also is not understood. Like how we discussed the 9 feelings last time, we can see that without having the right understanding, the relationships don't go so well because the trust itself fluctuates. The trust itself is not continuous. And because of that, we have arguments, opposition, fights, and all these things. Even though they might look small, like they might not be very big fights, but even those small changes in the mood and changes in the things, because of those feelings not being stable, because of that, we feel like it is not really leading to happiness. So even though we intend to do the right thing and be happy and to make the other happy, we lack the competence, and the only solution is to work on right understanding to get that competence. So would anyone like to comment on this?
Professor Jyotiraditya?
Having seen that all these three are important, do you think anything more is required? This was also discussed, but do you think if you have these three, then what more is required?
Any of the faculty members or the students or the family members who have joined us? We'd love to hear from you. I think
So
we
I
can.
would like to add
Yeah,
something.
please.
So sometimes understanding may be right, but sometimes compatibility doesn't match right. Even if we understand each other, but there is not that much of compatibility.
But what exactly does compatibility mean in your case? I mean, like when you're saying compatibility, then what are you looking from which point of view? Like you can have different likes and dislikes, you can have different opinions, but that doesn't have to change the state of relationship.
Here I am not meaning compatibility means different likes and dislike. Sometimes we understand people how they feel, yeah, or they understand us, but sometimes we do things we just can't do the right way. That they will just go with the flow that with that thing. I'm just saying that.
Okay. So yeah, so it's still the same kind of thing where like likes and dislikes is one way of looking, but you can also see that the opinions might be different and the way of thinking and all might be different. That is there, but as long as the other person is receptive, you can work out a discussion and you can still have a discussion and then go forward with that. So there may be many cases where the preconditionings don't match or the opinions don't match, but even then there's a high chance that if the other person is receptive to listen and like both people are able to talk to each other freely, then things can go very well. If one
Yes,
person
I
doesn't
agree on
open
this.
up at all, it means if one person is not ready to listen at all, completely not ready to listen, then it is harder. Then it is much harder to deal with. But if there is that basic receptivity from both sides where discussion can take place, then you can go ahead. And it's not necessary that the opinions and the preconditionings have to match. In fact, many like husband wife cases also, the preconditionings and the things don't match, but even then it works for them because they're able to see that they both want to make each other happy and they're just doing what they can for that. So even though their opinions may not match, it still works for them that way.
Yeah, Avinash, is it good enough?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So compatibility, I mean, like it's a word, but if you see, if you have a kind like in general, if you see, we are related to everyone else because we are able to see that our natural acceptance of all the people is the same. That we all want to be happy and we want to make the other happy. So even if we don't have a close relation, like like husband wife or this kind of a relation, even if we don't have this, even then we can see that our natural acceptance is the same. So our program, our potential, everything is the same. Like how you saw in the previous session on respect and trust. If we can establish these two, then any relationship can work, regardless of what the compatibility or opinions or thinking process may be, because that keeps changing. Because largely our things are all based on preconditioning for a lot of, for most of the things. And once we analyze this, we can see that it is easy to break the preconditioning once you have right understanding. It's like a tool which can cut through that and get you to the actual understanding.
We have Rahul Adhikari. Rahul, you have the mic. You wanted to speak something? Or Professor Jyoti Ranjan? Does relationship limit our aspects, like it may lead to adjustments? This is a question from Vasanti ma'am. Does
Okay.
relationship limit our aspects, like it may lead to adjustments? Arjun?
Yeah. So again, we have to just see the same thing, that we want to make the other happy and the other wants to make me happy. So in this process, um, since our opinions and all may not match, our idea of happiness itself may not match. So when we look at what the other person wants, then at the root we can see that the other person wants happiness, but the way of achieving that happiness may be different for different people. So based on that, there may be differences, like differences in the way that is fulfilled. But even then, we can see that at the base, they want the same thing. Only the details are different. So if this can be understood, then all the efforts can be like tailored towards that, rather than seeing that this person wants something else and I want something else. We can see that both of us want happiness. Now, our way of achieving that happiness and our definitions are based on our own preconditionings. So, if we can see that, then we can at least know where we are. So, like we can link it with the basic aspiration and then see that the details are different, but the basic aspiration is the same. So if we can see that, then we are seeing the bigger picture in that way. So then if we make a program for one person's, to fulfill their idea of happiness, then we don't look at it as a compromise. Instead, we look at it as we understand that for them this makes them happy, and for this person that makes somebody else happy. So we do both of them, and then at the base we see the same thing, that we both want to make each other happy. So since this is always at the base, we don't look at this as a compromise. We just look at it as a mutually fulfilling kind of a activity.
Thanks, Professor Mohanty.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, sir. Sir, out of three, which will be given more priority? Are all three? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Please, we can hear you.
What do you think would be the most priority, like highest priority?
Hello? Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
You are audible. You are audible, Professor Mohanty.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Sir, which will be given more priority out of three?
You can explore and see. What do you think by hearing the session so far? Which would you feel would be the highest priority?
Hello?
So Mohanty is having some issues with his network, I suppose.
Hello?
Professor Mohanty, can you hear us now?
Hello? Hello? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Can you hear us? Meanwhile, Rahul Adhikari, you want to say something? Rahul, can you hear us? Or Rabendra Raut, sir? Some network issues, I suppose.
Okay, I think it's not. Mic is not working for him. But anyhow, so he asked which would be the highest priority. So,
Namaste, sir.
Hello.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
Namaste. Actually, the basic issue is lack of right understanding. Hello.
Right.
Because, and the highest priority is given to the right understanding. Then comes to the relationship and physical facility. The first is if you understand the basic issues, then everything will be coming. So
Yes, yes. Nice reflection, Rahul sir. This is what our resource person Arjun sir was also saying.
sir,
So it's a matter of reflection on our own self. We can
sir.
identify it.
Yes.
Anything else that you would like to
We can look
reflect
at
on?
both things.
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so we can look at both things. One is that what is the priority for us, which we are thinking as which is the right priority, and also in our living, what is really happening and where our efforts are being put in. So we can see that our efforts are largely going towards physical facility. Not much effort is going into right understanding and relationship. But what we think is most important is right understanding, because if we have the right understanding, then we will have the right feelings in the relationship, the 9 feelings which were discussed. And once we have the right feelings, then our relationship is very harmonious. And then with that as the base, then we treat physical facility only as a means to use the physical facility for the nurturing and protecting of the body and for shelter and food and clothing. In these ways, we look at physical facility. We don't look at physical facility as something which is required for having respect. For example, if you have a feeling that if you wear a certain suit or a certain brand, then you'll get respect, then you need a lot of physical facility to buy that suit and to do all those things. But then sooner or later you realize that that doesn't really give you the respect or that status or whatever these things are in the society, a bigger position in the society or all these things. They don't really give you the happiness which you're looking for, although the assumption is that the physical facility will give you all these things and that's why that will lead to happiness. So once we see this, we realize that the right understanding is the key, because only then we know the right role of physical facility. Otherwise, we think physical facility can do many things, but it can only do nurturing and protecting of the body. You can buy things and all that, but you can also, other than that, there's no real use of physical facility beyond that, beyond the right utilization, beyond beyond using the physical facility for our basic needs and whatever we have to do, like in our daily life. Beyond that, there's no real role of physical facility. So although it's very important, it's an essential part. We're not saying that it's not required, but we have to see what the role of physical facility really is, what it is really used for. So right now, currently we have a kind of assumption that physical facility, if it is there, then everything else will fall into place. But then once we start getting more and more physical facility, then we still don't see that it's not really the solution. It's only the solution to live a comfortable life, but it's not a solution to be happy. So once we see this, then only then we can put these in the right priority and see that physical facility has its own limitations. And if we work on right understanding, then physical facility, we need less also because we have a right understanding. And our state of mind is also much different. We are much happier because we are realizing what the real role of physical facility is.
I feel you are proposing that the physical facility will not ensure the continuity of happiness and prosperity. Right, Arjun?
Yeah. The physical facility doesn't ensure the continuity of happiness and prosperity, because prosperity is a feeling. It's a feeling of having more than required. So it doesn't really tell you how much is what you. I mean, it doesn't tell you how much you have. It tells you, it's like a feeling that you have within yourself about how much you have. So it can be that even if a farmer is there who is earning very little, he can feel prosperous if he has a feeling that he has more than required. And a millionaire can still feel deprived even if he has so much wealth, because he might feel that he doesn't have enough. So prosperity is a feeling. It's not really related to how much the person has. So we can clearly see that the right understanding will determine how much physical facility you finally work for.
I think that satisfies the queries of Professor.
If there is right understanding, then you'll automatically have right feelings, and those right feelings will lead to harmonious relationship, and you'll also be able to work with the rest of nature to produce the physical facility, and that way everything is put in place. So we are ensuring all three are there, and we are also working towards all three with our priority on right understanding, and then second relationship, and third physical facility. So right now our order is, in our current living, our order is kind of opposite, because we have a strong assumption that physical facility leads to happiness. So this assumption has to just be looked at. So we don't have to say that we have to disregard that assumption. We can just look at all these assumptions and see, look at it and explore and see what really makes us happy. Explore even past events, and explore even um, through our natural acceptance. So we'll get a bigger picture of what is actually going on. If anyone has any comments about this, we can discuss.
Anybody else would like to reflect on these? I think we can move ahead, Arjun.
Okay. So basically, this only like if we see, we can just see some real life examples about all these things, that like what happens if we are working only for physical facility is that we work for accumulating more physical facility, but at the same time, we're not really in relationship with the other. Like we are not able to see the relationship with the other. Rather, we treat the other as something like somebody who we try to get something out of. So we don't look at the other as a person who we are going to help. We look at a person in terms of what we can extract from that person. So that is the kind of extreme case. But on a subtler level also, we can see that we treat the other person kind of indifferent. Like we don't really feel like we are related to the other. We feel like the other person is a stranger. So we have nothing to do with the other person. So in that sense, we look, because we are basing our whole thing on physical facility, and our assumption that physical facility leads to happiness is mostly born out of the assumption that we are body. We are not a coexistence of self and body. Because if we see that we are a coexistence of self and body, then we'll see that happiness is in the self, and physical facility is only going to satisfy the needs of the body, nothing else. So once we see this, then we realize that physical facility can only help us in getting more comfortable within the body, but it can't do anything else. Like for example, you can have more luxury, you can have more cars or more bikes or more clothes or something. All that just leads to having a more comfortable journey through this body, but it doesn't really lead to the happiness in the self, because the self is where the happiness is. The body is only an instrument which is being used to express the feelings and to do many things the body is used, but then the feelings are also all in the self, and the right understanding is also all in the self. So if we realize that we are a coexistence of self and body, then we realize that our focus can be more on right understanding, because we are trying to be happy. We are not trying to just accumulate more and more things. is that accumulation doesn't really lead to happiness. So again and again, we are seeing in different ways, we are coming back to the same point, which is that the physical facility has its own limitations. And the sooner we see this, the faster we'll start working towards right understanding, and the faster our progress will also be. So even though there's a strong push from the society side or from the mindset that physical facility is the key to everything, even then we can see that when we look through our natural acceptance and when we logically analyze that we are a coexistence of self and body, then we start to see that it's not really the way that it is portrayed in the society in many places. So we can see that if we make effort for moving from our current state to a state of happiness and prosperity, then what steps would those be? We can explore that. So it would be mostly working towards right understanding by means of exploring these proposals, trying to be aware at every moment. Ideally, if you are aware at every moment, then you'll know what exactly is going on in your thought process, in your imagination, all your desires, expectations, everything will be very clear. So then whatever you're doing also becomes very clear. And whenever you're going off track, your awareness will always push you back into the right direction. So some practices for awareness can be done, and some proposals which are being discussed can be explored. So right understanding can be developed like this. And along with this, right feelings and the feeling of being related to more people, even who we don't know personally, that will expand our kind of, way of looking at things. And suddenly we feel that we are not in fear, we are more in relationship. As in when we see a stranger, we won't look at them as somebody who can hurt us. We look at the person as somebody who we can help. And if we can't help them, then at least we can look at them with a feeling that we are related to them. So just thinking that way, I mean, just changing our view like that will lead to a lot of different feelings within us, which can be very satisfying and very like harmonious feelings will come. So we can see that this kind of effort can be made for moving from our current state to our state of excellence, where we're able to understand and live at harmony at all the 4 levels.
We have Dr. Chandrappa. Dr. Chandrappa, you would like to reflect on something? You have the mic, sir. Dr. KG Chandrappa.
Nameer Bhaiya,
Yes, ma'am.
Vasanti ma'am had written something in the chat. Did you take it up? Does relationship limit our aspects?
Ma'am, we've taken up the issue, ma'am.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, Arjun has already addressed it.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah, nice, ma'am. So, Dr. Chandrappa, can you hear us? You raised your hand and you have the mic with you, Dr. Chandrappa, KG. Probably sir is unable to get connected. Anybody else?
Any questions or anything from YouTube also we can check once.
I see Nirmal Kumar's hand, but I'm unable to pass him the mic. Student Nirmal Kumar. Parikshit sir, can you help me out?
It seems like he has disconnected perhaps.
Yeah, but his hand is only showing he is not visible.
Yes, Naveer Bhaiya, I don't see him at all.
Yeah,
So
we are
maybe
now
there's some
disconnected. We are
connectivity.
now disconnected. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Meanwhile, it's a great exploration on the part of the faculties and the students who come up with the instances that they are facing in their daily life. So it's really great exploration on all part, Arjun, and it's really nice to see you addressing the issues of the faculties.
Right. Only very few are there actually. Very few. Little bit of interaction is there only. So the idea actually for today was to ask the people what their exploration has been, so that we can like kind of comment on that and see what we can do and all that. But
Yeah, in fact, we'd love to see
Certainly.
people just
Yes.
raise their hands so that we can pass on the mics to them.
Very definitely, and definitely we like more of a interaction. That will be so good, and if we could discuss many proposals and put up our reflections.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, that will be.
And the best part is that the people who are with us, they are continuously in touch with us in all the meetings on all the Wednesdays.
Yes, yes.
Same,
I
like,
see Dr. Vaishali, I see Dr. Prasanna. Then, of course, and even so many of our friends have been regular in our meetings as well. Oh, yes, the very interactive boy. Hello, Srirag Mohan. Srirag Mohan, beta, can you hear me? The child is disconnected. No, he's there. Now, maybe I think there's some kind of a connectivity issue, because even the child had raised his hand, the mic was passed on, but then I think he's got disconnected.
yeah, probably. Dr. Prasanna, good evening.
Yes, Dr. Prasanna is there.
And
Otherwise,
Mr. Swanand Arvind Joshi.
Swanand Arvind Joshi. Prasanna sir, we are not able to hear you. Somehow.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Good
Dr.
evening.
Prasanna.
Happy to be back in the sharing session. In terms of
Nice.
skills, life goes on with with maybe a small step in every direction. Not always been very focused on physical facility, but had a lot of difficulties in both at personal level and institutional level in handling relationships, mainly because of my own mental blocks and preconditioning, especially with students. Students who do not perform well, I'm always willing to help. But students who have disciplinary issues, who engage in copying and ragging and those kinds of things, somehow I had a huge mental block. Slowly trying to come out of that, and try to also understand their preconditioning. But with this online classes and not being able to meet the students, there are a lot of limitations, because all our engagements are now online. Once I'll be able to assess my success on losing the preconditioning only if full face-to-face classes start. Can I have some comments?
So about these two issues of, say, like ragging and the other one of copying, we can see like from a student point of view that why someone does copying. As a student, many of us have done copying, and the reason most likely seems to be either that we are not competent to do it properly, or because we are lazy to study the books and do it. And that laziness comes out of not seeing the relevance about what we are studying. So a student would copy only in those two circumstances, where either he is not capable, which is a very minor case. I mean, like very minority will be like that. But majority is that they are lazy to study, and that laziness comes out of not understanding the relevance of why they should be studying that subject.
Yes, that is
So they
another
might
point
feel,
which I want to make. Like
yeah,
during earlier, our focus was always education was supposed to be acquiring knowledge. Now, then it became like skill.
true,
Then slowly it started becoming a step to get to get a job. And in this
yes,
sequence of deterioration, somehow we get students who just look at especially graduate education as something to get a job. Basic campus placement and getting a job seems to be the total focus of education. So that is
true.
actually creating a lot of confusions among students who really want to acquire knowledge and skills versus the students who want think that who can use education as a tool to get a job.
Right, and that also, if you link it with this, you can easily see that the student mindset is to get a job, because also that there's a strong preconditioning that if they get a job, they'll be able to earn a good salary, high salary, and then everything will be set. So that strong preconditioning is there that once they have the money, then everything will fall into place. So because of that, everything else is sidelined. I mean, everything else is not in the focus, because the focus is only on this one aspect, and that's how they excel at that one aspect, and then the other aspects are not really taken care of. So that's all to do with the same thing, that the preconditioning, that physical facility will lead to the fulfillment of the other two is there. So that doesn't really work that way. So uh, doesn't work. There is strong preconditioning that it will work like that. So that's the reason this happens. And the second about ragging also, if you see, then most of the students who are not getting that respect, like they have a feeling that they should get respected or they should get attention. Mostly this ragging happens because of that they are not feeling happy. They're feeling like they should be respected more and they should be treated better and they should be, this is the actual feeling. But when it is expressed in the form of domination, where you are using like a junior student to dominate over so that you can get that respect and get that attention, which is kind of a forced method. So since they're not getting it by a natural method, they're doing it in a forced method by domination. So if you look from the student point of view, it comes out of that unhappiness. So the key is to work on trying to help the student to get the right understanding about all these feelings. First of all, that rather than demanding the feelings, if they have those feelings within themselves, then they will spread those feelings rather than um, getting stuck into this domination kind of thing. And this all comes from unhappiness. Like if you see even anger also comes from unhappiness, because if the person is not comfortable within himself, then he will spread that uncomfortable feeling which comes out in the form of anger. But deep within that person, you can see that that person is suffering. So the same thing is true for the people who do ragging. Once we see this, then we feel like helping them rather than looking at them as somebody who is a bad student. We look at them more as students who need help.
You can have Professor Mohanty or Dr. ACSV Prasad. Yeah. Dr. Chandrappa.
Miss Shweta Malish, Shweta, you have the mic in case you would like to interact. Shweta? Okay, Rahul Adhikari. Rahul, Beta, you have the mic. You can just touch it to unmute it.
Malesh Tawadre. I think Professor Mohanty is trying to connect, but some
Yes,
issue.
yes, Professor Mohanty has just. Yes, Professor Mohanty. Am I able to reach you, Professor Mohanty? Then maybe it can be posted, in the chat so that we can read it out, any query or any reflection. That will also be fine.
It was really nice listening to the number of issues raised by the faculties and the students.
Yes.
Feelings of relationships and understandings and the correlationship of the three aspects, the right understanding, relationship, and the physical facilities, and the priorities thereof.
Namir Bhaiya,
Yes,
I can see something in the chat. One of the student, Bishesh Kumar, he's written, why the society has a pre-focus on materialistic things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Arjun?
So I think that's mostly like in history you can see that many things have happened in the past also, and the focus has shifted. It keeps on shifting because the right understanding has not been established. Like that state of excellence has been reached only by a few people. So those people have always tried to spread the fact that the right understanding is the key to happiness. But since those were a minority of people and the majority of people were not able to see that, because of that, things kept changing in history. If you see, like the preconditioning keeps changing, and we can see for ourselves also that our preconditioning keeps changing. That like um, before we heard this discussion, before we went through this UHV content, we also may have had a preconditioning that um, that physical facility is very important because it can help us to achieve the other two, but in reality it doesn't. So without really analyzing our preconditionings, we have made such strong preconditionings and we work so much towards fulfilling those things just for those preconditionings. So this has happened on a large scale as well. So that translates into this kind of a mindset overall in the society. So that can change also, and it will keep changing based on what the people are doing on a larger scale, like what the majority of people are doing. And as our level of consciousness towards these matters increases, we will see again this kind of a shift happen. But on a large scale, if it has to happen, then it has to start from where we are starting, like from education. If it starts, then people will have enough time to explore all these things, and then they'll be able to see for themselves what is important and what is most important. As in, like we're not saying physical facility is not important, but they'll be able to see that what the priority would be and what effort has to be done for that and all this thing. So that's what we can say.
Yes, that's very right. And even Vishesh is saying, he has been saying that is this thought likely to change in the coming years? Of course, Arjun, I think we all are working towards it and are hopeful that definitely such kind of a thought.
Manisha ma'am, Mrs. Savita Hanji, a faculty, has
Yes, I can
great
see.
explanation.
Yes.
It's really lovely to hear read it out. Dear Madam, Sir, I have slowly started observing my preconditioning, able to slowly identify preconditioning within myself. Carefully, I have to attach right understanding to those preconditioning. So
Right, that's very nice that
very nice.
you're exploring. and we all are exploring actually. And there are so many things that we do, and once we do it, then we analyze it after the fact that it's done. So even that is actually good, because even though we have done something, if we analyze, then we are able to see where that action came from. Like if we did something without really thinking about it, then after we do it, we might think that we shouldn't have done it. So at the first stage, it happens like this. And at the second stage, it happens that we are thinking something and we don't want to think that. So, but at the same time, we don't do the action which is corresponding to it. So then we are able to stop it over there. And then the third stage is where we don't even get those thoughts which are not aligned with our natural acceptance. So we can see this shift happen if we keep exploring, and we keep analyzing our actions based on why we are doing those things, and our thoughts also, why we are thinking those things, whatever we are thinking, why we are thinking about that, and um, whether it is coming from preconditioning or natural acceptance or from sensation.
Yes, and Arjun, even Vasanti Reddy ma'am is writing that, sir, regarding physical facilities, which is good, to preserve the old to reuse, or to throw the old and buy new every time.
The details of all these things you have to see within yourself, within your own situation. But the main crux of it is to understand that physical facility is required in a limited quantity, and it is required for the utilization for the body. So its role is only limited to that. Its role is not to give you respect or to give you this kind of status or these kind of things. Its role is only to fulfill the needs of the body and to live comfortably. So if you see from that point of view, then the finer details about what to throw, what to buy, and all that can be worked out based on your own situation. That is left to you. But like, the proposal is just to look at the fact that physical facility is not really going to lead to happiness. Rather, it leads to um, comfort for the body, and it doesn't have any other role apart from that.
Yes, and even I think with respect to a question which was placed earlier by, I think, Srirag Mohan, he's again writing that, will their ego let us help them? Like this was that, sir, you told that people who rag others need help. What kind of a help do they get? Will their ego let us help them?
Okay, so this ego also, if we look at this, ego also comes from, we have discussed this also, right? In the previous, or not previous, in like 2 sessions back or something, we discussed about ego and depression, where it comes from. And we can see that it comes from comparison and from not having the right understanding about our own self. Like we are looking at our um, our thoughts and our like we are looking from the point of view that we are different and the other is different, and there's a comparison, and like these differences lead to discrimination, and we feel either superior to the other or inferior to the other. So when we feel inferior to the other, then it leads to a state of that depression, and when we feel superior to the other, it leads to a state of ego. So we keep fluctuating between these two states because we find all kinds of people, right? We find all kinds of situations. So we always keep fluctuating between these two based on the person who we are interacting with. So if the person is ragging a junior student, then he'll be feeling that he is superior to the junior student. And if he is being ragged, then he'll feel inferior to the senior student. Like if a junior is being ragged, he'll feel inferior to the senior student. And the same senior student may again feel inferior when he's working in a job or something where he's at a lower position than his boss, or this kind of a situation. So these fluctuations between the inferiority and superiority will keep happening, and that is what leads to the ego and depression. So if this can be communicated to the student, then it will help the student realize that the ragging, which seems to give a source of happiness, is actually not going to lead to any happiness, because it's only kind of boosting that ego. what you're calling ego, right? It's just boosting that, and that doesn't really lead to anything because it is just a temporary thing which makes you feel good because of the comparison. And once this comparison changes, once it happens with a different person, then again you'll feel inferior. So if this is really clearly understood, then the person will have no interest in ragging actually. He will completely lose the interest in ragging.
Nice, Arjun. It was a great session, and it's about time. It's 8:37, Manisha ma'am.
Yes, yes, that's what even I was feeling. That of course it's time, let's say, to wind up this particular, you know, uh, session and meeting. Definitely and certainly next.
Thanking our resource person Arjun, as well as
Yes,
the faculties, the students, and all the attendees.
Thank you to
And
everyone.
looking forward to meeting again the day after tomorrow, Friday, for the health
yes.
and
Friday we'll have a session on health. That will be another something of interest to each one of us, of course. Uh, and we'll be meeting again for the same kind of a session on next Wednesday. So we'll be looking forward for that also. Till then, I hope there'll be a lot of proposals to explore upon and of course experientially validate at our own right. So that's good.
right.
I think
Thank
we'll
you.
say namaste to everyone. And
Oh, great explorations.
Chirag is writing all the classes are very interesting. Yes, beta, they all are for good interaction with each one of you. So let's hope that we'll keep taking up the proposals in the same way, and we'll be happy if most of our friends can interact in person. That will be really nice. So namaste, and yes, Namir Bhaiya, I think we'll call it a day, and we'll wind up the session and meet again on Friday and next Wednesday too.
Yeah, Didi, namaste.
Yes. Namaste, Bhaiya.
Namaste, namaste. Thank you everyone.
Namaste, everybody. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.